All right. Good evening, everyone. And welcome to ASC's pre-submittal meeting for the Going Public, a Public Art Incubator built by Lowe's. I'm Todd Stewart, ASC's Vice President of Public Art, and I'm joined tonight by ASC's Program Director of Public Art, Ms. Randella Foster. And we will be going over various different things related to this opportunity. I'll begin by giving you all a brief overview of ASC and the services that we provide through public art. We'll go over a brief kind of description or run through of some of the information found in the request for qualifications that was sent out for this series of workshops. And then we will transition from that into some helpful hints on how best to apply to this opportunity. And we'll finish up with questions and answers at the end. And before we begin, just a couple of technological courtesies we'll ask. Tonight's meeting is being recorded. So if you're not comfortable showing your face, feel free to turn your cameras off. We record these meetings so that interested parties who are unable to attend can view it later. We'll most likely post it on our website. We also ask that everyone mute their audio. This will allow whoever's speaking to be heard most clearly by everyone. If you do have a question or a comment, feel free to unmute yourselves at the microphone icon. You can also go over to the reactions icon on your desktop, select raise hand, and that will let Randella or I know that you have a question or comment so that we can call on you. A good way of getting in touch with us or sharing any questions you have is also the chat feature, which is the speech bubble icon, which will pull up this kind of message bar. You can select to either send your message to everyone or to me or Randella in particular. Feel free to share those. We'll be picking questions throughout the night, especially at the question and answer period. And this is helpful if you have a question but don't necessarily want to interrupt the presentation. So ASC has been involved in public art management since 1992. And then in 2002 and 2003, respectively, the Mecklenburg County and the City of Charlotte both adopted separate ordinances that appropriated 1% of eligible capital improvement project funds for the creation of public art, often associated with those projects, or at least in the same geographic area. So since 2002, we have managed the public art programs for Mecklenburg County, the City of Charlotte, and through the City of Charlotte, the Charlotte Douglas International Airport. And what that looks like is ASC is responsible for planning these opportunities, facilitating artist selection, contracting with the selected artists, facilitating community engagement, and then working with the artists to facilitate fabrication and installation in accordance with the Public Art Commission's oversight. To date, we've accomplished 187 projects, and we currently have 36 projects in progress. The map to your right is a bit outdated, but it gives you a good idea of how spread out these projects are. So this is virtual Charlotte, this GIS location for different utilities that the city provides. And here you'll see each blue dot representing a Mecklenburg County project, each red dot representing a city project, and the green dots are private projects that we've managed to some degree throughout the years. All of this was achieved through a public art master plan. And I think the overall impetus or the goal was summed up nicely in that public art serves as a catalyst for connectivity, bonding people to a place and one another by generating a greater sense of pride and responsibility for places that enhance quality of life and celebrate communities' unique attributes. Community engagement is a critical part of ASC's public art process. And we do that through a variety of ways. Community representatives are invited to participate on artist selection panels to actually recommend artists who have applied to opportunities to the Public Art Commission for those commissions. Artists dialogue with communities, and this ensures that artwork is created with the community's voice in mind as they're going through design development. And communities are further involved through artist-led workshops, surveys, lectures, and dedications. Now we're going to go into some of the information that was provided in the request for qualifications. I'm going to turn it over to Randella to walk us through this. Randella, if you'll just let me know when you want to advance the slide, I'll be happy to.
Thank you, Todd. Thank you all for joining us. So as Todd mentioned, I'm just going to do like a high level overview of some of the information in the RFQ. Of course, if you have questions, as he mentioned, you can drop those in the chat or raise your hand and we'll definitely answer those. So Going Public, a public art incubator, is made possible by the financial sponsorship of Lowe's. It's a partnership with them. We are building a skilled public artist pipeline, developing business acumen within selected participants. These are the foundational elements of the program. Lowe's supports the communities it serves to make homes and hometowns better for all. This extends throughout its hometown of Charlotte, including support of local artists who make neighborhoods and communities vibrant places to live and to work. So the purpose of this program is to create a series of workshops that will help artists better understand the process behind public art. That goes to applying to commissions, working with stakeholders and communities, and making your artwork vision a reality. ASC's goal is to better equip you and prepare you for opportunities and the challenges that you may face while working in the public space. And next slide, please. So again, a series of 3 workshops facilitated by ASC public art staff and practicing public art artists, specifically those who have participated within the Charlotte-Mecklenburg Public Art Program. We think this will be extremely beneficial to you as they have gone through the steps and they can offer some insight into how it works and some helpful tips and guidelines as you move through the process. So each workshop will cover a specific subject that is relevant to the public art process through artist presentations, Q&A sessions, and definitely hands-on experiences. Artists will be asked to produce an artistic outcome aligned with each topic. So yes, there is homework. These workshop sessions will be 6 hours in length, and of course, we will provide lunch for you or dinner, just depending upon what time and how that falls. So again, there are 3 workshops. The first one is entitled Answering the Call to Artists. This is all about applying for the opportunity. In this workshop, you will learn what types of opportunities are available for public artists and how you can apply. The artist facilitators, as well as ASC staff, will share helpful tips for creating an application that stands out, give you some behind the scene insights into the artist selection process, and help you understand how to grow your professional practice. A mock call to artists will also allow you to gain hands-on experience of the process. And next slide. The second workshop is Public Art is a team sport, and this is all about community engagement. Community engagement, as Todd mentioned, is essential to our process, as we really want the community's voice to be heard and expressed somehow within that public art that's created for them, for their community. So the ASC staff and the artist facilitators will share the good, the bad, and the sometimes strange involving communities in this artistic process. Special focus will be given to developing intentional strategies for working with communities and developing a personal communication style. The third workshop is entitled Making It. This is all about project management for artists. We're going to focus on project management strategies. It's going to be like a crash course in project phases that you're responsible for as a commissioned artist. Those are those design phases that have to be approved as you work through getting to the fabrication and installation of the artwork. The artist facilitators and ASC staff will provide additional insight on managing a budget, working with clients, collaborators, and subcontractors, as well as designing for public spaces. Various approaches to fabricating artworks will be discussed, as well as what to expect when installing a work of art. And we often say what to expect, always expect the unexpected, because it always occurs. So just some tips for that. So the selection, 6 regional artists will be selected to participate based on their resume, CV, or bio, statement of interest, and their portfolio. No previous experience completing public art commissions is required. The participants will be selected based on the strength of their application that will be reviewed by a panel of ASC staff and Lowe's stakeholders. There are minimum eligibility requirements. The artist must reside in Mecklenburg, Cabarrus, Cleveland, Gaston, Iredell, Lincoln, or Rowan County. You must submit a complete application. Sometimes for some reason, different parts that we've asked for is left out. And so we must have the complete application, everything that we have requested, which also includes work samples that demonstrate a professional studio practice, and your resume or bio that demonstrates evidence of professional artistic achievements, exhibitions, commissions, publications, etc. And next slide. So back to those required materials that complete your application. Again, your credentials, that's your resume, CV, or your biography that demonstrates professional history and skills or experience as a professional artist. There is a maximum of 2 pages. Images of your past work. You can submit up to 10 images of recent work or 3 digital video or movie files. Those are limited to 2 minutes each. And all of these need to have completed within the past 10 years. We also request a statement of interest or a video of interest. This is a brief introductory narrative that provides insight about your interest in working as a public art artist, 1 page maximum, or a video no longer than 3 minutes in length. So if you choose to submit a video of interest, this is really important, you must upload the video in the media section. You won't be able to upload it under the statement of interest because that's looking for just like a Word document. So it would need to be included in the media as one of the 10 uploads in that section where you are uploading your images of your work. So keep that in mind. We're also requesting an annotated slide list. This is just a Word document with the artwork titles, the date created, the media, and the dimensions of the work. And we also request references. 3 professional references, include the name, the organization, phone number, and the email. And again, all of this is listed within the RFQ. So if you need to refer back to that when you're submitting, please do so. So the selection process. Again, the applicants will be selected based on the strength of their application by a panel of ASC staff and Lowe's stakeholders. This is a really exciting opportunity, but we want to make sure you understand that participation in this program does not guarantee a commission. However, we are offering the selected artists a $500 stipend for their participation. And next slide. So our projected timeline, our schedule. So currently we are accepting applications in Slide Room. We're here having the pre-submittal now for you to be able to ask additional questions that you may have. March 3rd, 2023 at 11:59 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's the deadline to apply. If you're in the application at 11:59 and you try to submit it at 12 midnight, more than likely it will not let you submit. It really cuts off at 11:59. So it's really important to start early on your application. During the month of March, we will convene a panel that will review all of the applications and select the 6 artists who will be invited to participate in the incubator. In April, we will proceed with notifying you and executing a contract. And then we will begin the workshops. Our plan is to have one workshop each month during the month of May, June, and July. As of right now, we do not have those dates or the location, but we will have those soon. The application, again, that link is in the RFQ, asc.slideroom.com. That is where you will apply and submit all of your information. Slideroom does offer technical support. If you're having difficulty utilizing the website, please reach out to them. These links are in the RFQ. You can link to their website and fill out a form for additional help or email them directly. Their hours are Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. Again, I'm not sure how quickly that response is, so please don't wait until the day before. And then if you have difficulty and they haven't been able to get back to you in time, you'll have problems submitting. So keep that in mind as well. And next slide.
All right, thanks,
All right.
Rondell. Yeah, I'll take it from here. So now, with all that in mind, in terms of what this opportunity is and what we're looking for in terms of an application, Rondell and I want to just walk through some hints, some tips that could lead to a successful application for this. And we'll just take it from there. I wanted to begin by showing some similarities and differences that ASC kind of notices between studio art and public art. So studio art, can have an emphasis on personal vision, the real strength of that. And that's not to say, I don't mean to make studio art out to be some monolithic thing where all approaches are the same, similarly to public art. But I think where public art differs is how quickly it can become almost like the artist serving as a general contractor and having to wear a lot of different hats. Public art, as we said before, is definitely something that involves multiple parties, from other project managers, design consultants, architects, landscape architects, stakeholders, and community members, and sometimes even collaborations with other artists. So it takes a very collaborative spirit to pull this stuff off. Lots of interaction with public agencies, fabricators, and consultants. Personal expression is still huge as a part of public art. You are creating artwork, but you're also considering the characteristics, interests, concerns of the audience or the neighborhood that will kind of be the site for your work, the public space. Scale is determined in relation to specific public spaces, so the sites are identified by the commissioning agents and by ASC in terms of the desires for the client, as well as just what will work in terms of the budget and the availability of sites. These can often be larger in scale and consider multiple viewpoints. So yeah, and then public art also involves additional design and business skills, working with professionals in related fields and with the community. I think that's just something that I'm reiterating throughout all of this, is that ASC is here to help all of our artists that we manage, but especially when it comes time for fabrication and installation, we always see the artist as the ultimate authority on their work and how it is best made and installed. And that can often require the help of contractors pouring your foundation, crane operators, installers, a whole gamut of other people. And then finally, public art necessitates careful attention to and knowledge of various materials and construction in order to address location safety and high traffic conditions. So you'll see in a lot of our RFQs emphasis on durable materials. And that's because often these opportunities are exterior, and that requires a lot of kind of the artwork withstanding the elements, not just the weather, UV, things like that, but also people interacting with it in ways intended and unintended. So all good things to consider for those who have not had the opportunity to participate in public art, either through private commission or public. These are just things to think about. Then Mirandella, would you like to go through the letter of interest and video, please?
Sure. So again, I can't emphasize it enough. Start early. Don't wait until the deadline to apply. You can imagine how many emails I get the day after an opportunity closes because there was difficulty at the last minute. The letter of interest or video, again, 1 to 2 page letter of interest, 2 to 3 minute max on the video. This is an opportunity to tell us about you, express your interest in the opportunity, what your specific interests in public art are, mention any relevant experience you have with public art or community projects, describe your process for designing, and if you fabricate, describe that as well. Indicate if you have ever worked for a project that was site specific, and if you have, provide examples of that. Indicate if you're comfortable collaborating, and if you've done that before, give us a few examples of projects that you've collaborated on and how you collaborated and what that process looked like. And then again, really important, are you comfortable involving communities in your artistic process? If you've done that before, provide examples, no matter how small. Show us that you have the capacity to work with community and incorporate their thoughts and ideas into your processes of figuring out how you can highlight something specific about their community. And then close with how you would benefit from the workshops and why you would be an ideal participant. Next slide.
Yeah, and I will just say briefly that, just to reiterate, having experience in public art is not a prerequisite for attending these workshops. We're actually looking for people that have limited or maybe even no experience, but you have an incredible interest in it, and you could see how your work that could help you grow into this field of work. So when thinking about these, don't be discouraged if you don't have any experience working with communities or collaborating or working site specifically. Just, I would look at it through the lens of like the work you're doing now and the potential in it to grow in these fields if you wanted to, and try to communicate to us how you could see that working.
And so about the CV, resume, or biography. So a resume is going to include all your art related work experience, right? Starting with your most recent. But then we recently offered the option to include a biography, which consists of art related work experience you want to highlight. That allows, if you haven't had much experience or you are a self-taught artist, it allows you to select the project that you've worked on and share with us specifically about that and highlight some of the things that I talked about before in that letter of interest as to how you actually work through your design process. So we're hoping that we're offering to level the playing field a little bit by offering that option to actually present a bio as opposed to a CV or resume, which is that chronological order of just a list of everything that you've done. Stacey Utley is an artist who was commissioned for the 5 Points Plaza project, and he allowed us to share his CV that he shared during his process of being selected as an applicant. We thought it was really clear, really concise, offered, bullet points like on project experience, a little on his background, and then a little on his academics as well. So it's yours. Just make sure it's clear, it's concise, and then it gives us some insight. And next slide.
And then about your portfolio images, I would say that through our RFQ, request for qualifications and request for proposals process, as well as this, we really emphasize the imagery. Your portfolio is who you are as an artist. So it's incredibly important in terms of the artist selection process. What I would like to highlight here is just the importance of clarity in terms of what you're showing us and showing selection panel members. And this goes not just for this opportunity, but any request for qualifications that you would show. So the image on the left, you know, both of these are outstanding artworks and would, you know, of course they're accomplished, so they were created, so the artist received a commission and built them. The one on the left, I would say, I see what the artist is going for. So this artist team creates screen printed ceramic tiles. And what they're trying to communicate through this image is the variety of tiles that they've created throughout this park, as well as this kind of trailhead gateway that's coated in their ceramic tiles as well. So beautiful project, great imagery, but creating that border of tiles can be a bit confusing. Often when we're doing artist selection process like panels, we get a lot of questions of what is this I'm looking at, or what's going on here, and it can negatively impact an artist being selected for an opportunity. So I would say try to steer clear of muddying, like the amount of images you're trying to like kind of creating a collage of different perspectives or details or whatever. The image on the right, this artist has given us a sense of scale, a sense of how the work works with the site. It's pretty dramatic in its lighting, and just a very clear, high resolution, exemplary photo. So even if you have to use multiple images, and this is especially true of sculpture or work that's three-dimensional, if you have to use multiple images in that 8 to 10 that you get to show different perspectives of it, if that's important, I think that would benefit you more than trying to cram it all into one slide so that you can get the most images to us as possible. Quality, not quantity. And then in terms of the annotations, so this goes hand in hand with the slides that you're showing us. So include the title of the artwork, the date and location, a brief, very brief project description, and then media and dimensions, and then please list the commissioning agent or client. And that can be done in just a very simple kind of bulleted list of items. This will accompany your application and give us some of that background information so that when people do ask, what is this? What are we looking at specifically? That information is readily available and in your own words. And then I will say for references, we do check references. It's just an important part of the process in terms of who you've worked with and that relationship. As a professional courtesy, it's a good idea to reach out to individuals that you'll be using as a reference to let them know beforehand, before sending it to us, so that they are prepared when we call or write to them for that reference. For some further information, of course, here's our staff contacts. You can contact Rendella or myself at any time via email or office phones. If you have information about this opportunity, calls to artists that you've seen on the website, or just ASE in general, we'll be happy to talk, discuss, answer any of those questions that we can. You can find more information at our website at www.artsandscience.org. There's specific pull downs for public art at artsandscience.org/public art. And then our calls to artists are listed with our grant opportunities at artsandscience.org/calls to artists. And that'll show anything that's currently open and available for artists to apply to. And I'd also encourage and appreciate it if you would all follow us on Facebook and Instagram at ASC Charlotte to get up-to-date information on all the great work that ASC is doing in the cultural community throughout Mecklenburg County and the surrounding towns. This is not just directed at public art, or grant opportunities, education, the full gamut. There's a lot that we do, lots of really great work. So now let's turn it over for questions. As I said in the beginning, please feel free to use all methods that you're comfortable with. Either raise your hand if you would like to unmute and ask your question, or drop it in the chat. We'll be looking for all of those to answer your questions. And I'm going to leave the presentation up in case we need to go back to specific slides to look at imagery or whatever. Thomas Schmidt, you have a question, sir?
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you both so much for putting this together. It's really helpful. So I was just wondering, when it comes to the 10 images, if it would be worth including public art proposals or renderings that maybe haven't been executed yet, but are kind of an example of something that might be submitted in the future.
Yeah, so that's a great question. We get asked that a lot, and it is okay. I wouldn't make it the majority of your imagery or your images, but it is acceptable. What I would ask is within that, with the annotations, when you have that brief description you're able to provide, please list it as a rendering and for the project. And if you know the install date, that's great as well. Some of y'all are amazing at renderings, and it's hard to tell sometimes, like, is this built, is it not? So
Right.
that's always just
Okay.
helpful. But yeah, no, that's perfectly all right.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yep, thanks. And Jody McNeely, do you have a question? Jody, if you're speaking, we can't hear you.
You're still on mute.
Okay. The two images that you showed, as one was a not so good example, yeah, and the other one are both outdoor actually installs. But yet you mentioned earlier that we can apply without that experience.
Right.
So what would those images, what might those images look like? Would they be just like our individual like products that we, we create, the art that we do? I'm a ceramic artist, so would I just throw examples of my work out there?
Yeah, definitely. So we use this slide from like other presentations that we've delivered for our request for qualification process for actual public art projects. But in your case, as a ceramicist, I think professional images, as high resolution as you can give us, like 300 DPI of your objects. Similarly, like what I would say is in terms of like clarity of like the form, your color usage, everything about whatever artwork you want to showcase. And this will be the same for ceramics, paintings, murals, freestanding sculpture of a variety of scales, whether it's internal, interior, or exterior. Try to think of photographing it in a way to where you're directing our attention to what is important. And I'm saying that in terms of, sometimes I see images where perhaps it's one sculpture, one painting, but it's cited in a way to where there's like a lot of visual clutter around it, and it's kind of hard to really make out or tell what's happening in the painting and this piece of ceramic work or whatever. So if you can get like a clean background to it, really show it in its best light, that'll make for a really compelling portfolio. But yeah, it does not, there's going to be no demerits for work that is not like these two examples we're showing here, where it's outside and kind of public art.
Okay, I have another question, and it kind of lends itself to that, because I have not done public art in this grand of a scale. So if I was to apply and get one of those 6 spots, would I be able to could I, if I got a job, be teamed up with like a more experienced person? I definitely want to get my foot in the door, but I don't know where to start with that. And I feel like I need to be teamed up with someone who's maybe more experienced.
Right. So that's an amazing point. We get asked this. The reason we're doing, let me back up and give some context as to why ASC, why Randall and I are even doing this to begin with. I've been at ASC for, it'll be 9 years in April, working in public art and working in various capacities for this. And throughout those years, the biggest question I've been asked from our local artists is, how do I get my start in this? And that's the reason we wanted to do this workshop series. what you just suggested, Jody, has been one of my biggest recommendations or suggestions to artists that have yet to complete a public art commission, is to, one, either team up with an artist who has experience in that field, or could, you know, have the capacity to do that, so that you're sharing skill sets, you're sharing a knowledge base. It doesn't have to necessarily be like a mentor and mentee relationship, but I've seen that work time and time again, where an artist without so much experience is teamed up with one with more experience to get their foot in the door, then launch them on to getting their own projects later, or sometimes just having a really fruitful collaboration and continuing to work together in that way. The other thing I would suggest is, you know, if you can't go that route or you're not uncomfortable, I think another great alternative is to look for requests for proposals. The strength of that is you may have to give up some of your time, and perhaps there is or isn't an honorarium for creating proposals for the specific opportunity, but you'll be selected more on your idea and what you envision for a specific project, rather than like the portfolio of your work or what you have accomplished. So even someone with limited experience or a record of public commissions can have an amazing idea, and a selection panel be willing to like give them the chance to then execute that idea. So personally, myself with my own studio practice, that's how I got several of my first public and private commissions, was through an RFP or a request for proposals process. ASC, I prefer request for qualifications, simply because it allows us to bring the artist on board, and that artist to begin talking with the project team, stakeholders, community people, to get an idea of like so much more of like the nuances of what goes into a neighborhood, what goes into a space, what goes into a project, and certain expectations and desires of clients before they even begin ideating and coming up with their idea. I can only write so much, Randella can only write so much in an RFQ or an RFP to give you guys like a good sense of like what we're after. Is really through those conversations that we start to get to the heart of what a successful project would be. So that was a long-winded answer, but yes,
Thank you. No, it's good.
Absolutely
It's good.
right. And that collaboration, I think, is a great way of doing this. Nadia,
Thank you.
I see your hand raised. Do you have a comment or question?
Hi.
Hey.
I do have a question. So if you have a mentor or mentee type of scenario, but that person isn't one of the 3 people that is like sponsoring you, or that you put down as like your prerequisites to vouch for this, is there a spot on the resume to add like, oh, I reach out to this person when I need help? Or is there a spot on the resume or on the application where I could add like people who I reach out to that could help me in other public art works?
So I just want to make sure I'm clear. So you're saying, like, in addition to your references, is there a place in the application where you can talk about potential collaborators that you could work with on a project?
Potential collaborators, or more like people who I know have done public artwork that I can ask questions to, or I like, since I don't haven't done as many public artworks or any, I do know some that I can go and ask questions to, but they are not one of the 3 people.
Yeah, so the way this kind of works, so I'm going to speak specifically to like not necessarily to this opportunity, but this opportunity, I think you would only need your references, because this is for a series of workshops to like, where we would kind of answer some of those questions of how to navigate relationships in terms of working with collaborators and get this stuff done. But to answer your question, like if you were applying for an opportunity, like for a specific project opportunity, ASC, we look for someone who is applying to be the lead artist who would be submitting the opportunity. So sometimes we get like small architectural studios or artists who work either in small groups or larger groups. And That's okay to apply as a collective as long as there's some person of point of contact that we would be like contracting with. Everyone that would work
Gotcha.
under that artist would be considered almost like a subcontractor, if that makes sense. So you wouldn't actually, you know, in terms of your work, your application, you would not need to list anyone that you just seek out for advice or whatever. That would be more like someone that you're working with. Now, what I would do, or what I would say, and this doesn't necessarily pertain to this opportunity, but your letter of interest or video would be a great way of emphasizing or providing more information on like the community of artists that you're a part of, so that the selection panel understands that it's not just you, Nadia, alone, like figuring this out, but that you've built a network of people that you trust who are skilled, you know, knowledgeable in certain ways and can help you through whatever. That's where I would emphasize that probably the most.
Gotcha. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Any other questions? Either about the opportunity, applying to the opportunity, or ASC, all of those are fine. And if not, that's okay as well. All right. Well, I wanted to end just by reminding everyone that March 3rd, 2023, 11:59 p.m. Eastern is the cutoff for this. You'll be applying for this opportunity through Slide Room, so that can be found online. It's a pretty intuitive platform for submitting your application materials. Rendell and I, of course, are here to help with anything content-wise, or some of the materials that we covered here tonight. Anything technical about actually using Slide Room itself. I'm not gonna say I'm computer illiterate, but like definitely not someone to help you completely with how to navigate Slide Room. I would reach out to Slide Room's tech help for that, and that can be found on their website. And before I close, I just want to give a huge thank you to Lowe's for making this all happen. As I said, this is something that really came out of a need and a desire that Rendell and I have seen, and ASC has seen in the community, and a response to the community. And Lowe's has not only provided financial support to make this happen, but been an amazing partner in terms of brainstorming and creating a real excitement around it. So this is something I've wanted to do for years. I'm really looking forward to it. And thank you to Lowe's for making it happen. So, yeah, that's it. If there's no further questions or comments, thank you all so much for joining us tonight. I look forward to seeing all your applications, and please do not hesitate to reach out to Rendell and I if you have any questions that you think of later. All right.
Thank you.
Yeah, good night, everyone. Take care.